Hey everybody, welcome back to U.S. History class with Mr. Finn. Today we are going to be continuing our story of all of our cultures coming together. Now if you remember, we were discussing how Europe was leading the way in the age of exploration as far as getting out there in the world and finding new places for them. Now, there's a lot of instances of people coming together, and there's some good benefits from that as well. You get to see new foods, new religions, new ideas, all kinds of things that you can be exposed to when you meet new people. However, there are some things that kind of go sideways in that case. Some people think they're better than other people. Some people think their ideas are better. And you can find conflict when you bring people together. And this is going to be, unfortunately, the case with the Europeans coming to America. Now we start, if you remember, with the country of Spain. Columbus sailed for Spain. He discovered, quote unquote, America for the Europeans. Now, he is going to not be a huge player in our story. He's going to come to America. He has a couple of journeys. He discovers it for the Europeans. However, later on, about 15, 20 years from Columbus, you are going to start to see the real coming together of Europe and America. That is going to begin with someone named Cortez. Hernan Cortez is going to be a Spanish conquistador. A Spanish conquistador is a Spanish soldier. That's what they were called. And so you are going to find Cortez coming to America with his men, most of which are young men between the ages of 18 to 25, looking for adventure, looking for glory, trying to get rich, maybe finding gold, and they are going to be with Cortez as he comes over to America. Now, who is Cortez going to come into conflict with? None other than a group that we have looked at already. We'll say Cortez and the Aztecs. Now, most of you have done the assignment where you looked up fun facts about the Aztecs and what their life was like and what their religion was and everything about the Aztecs. Now we're going to look at what happens when the Spanish come into contact with them. Now, the Aztecs have flourished in America. They have a huge civilization. They have a city. They have control over most of modern-day Mexico City. And they are rich and powerful. They are the biggest Native American empire that we have going. And so when the Spanish get here, they hear about the Aztecs. They also hear a key word. And that key word, ladies and gentlemen, is, say it with me, gold. Who doesn't like gold? I know you do. So they hear that the Aztecs have a ton of gold. And this is just music to the Spanish's ears. They love it. They're like, they do? Well, we need to go investigate this. And so they march into Mexico looking for the Aztec capital. When they find the Aztec capital, the Aztecs actually think that the Spanish are gods. They think that it's Quetzalcoatl was their god, who was said to have gone away and was going to return. And it just happened to be on the Aztec calendar the same year that Cortez came to Mexico, which is terrible luck for the Aztecs because they say, hey, look at our calendar. It says Quetzalcoatl is going to come back right now in this year. And then look at this. These people on horses. There was no horses in America. Horses didn't even exist in America until the Spanish came and brought them over, and the Europeans. And so if you were an Aztec or a Native American and you saw these men on these beasts, these horses, and they had armor, and they had these steel weapons and guns. They had all these things. The Aztecs said, it's got to be Quetzalcoatl. This is it. And so they welcomed in the Spanish, thinking that they were, a god of theirs. Unfortunately, that was not the case. And there's another thing that the Spanish brought with them that did not exist here, and that was smallpox. Smallpox is a disease that was, well known in Europe. In fact, even in Africa, smallpox existed. But it did not exist in America. And it's highly contagious, and it was highly deadly. And so these people in America that came into contact with the Europeans would contract this disease. And smallpox would run rampant, and it would absolutely decimate. It would just wipe out huge numbers in America. And the Spanish are going to introduce this disease to the Aztecs. Now, another key name in the story, we had Cortez. Someone else who goes along with Cortez in this story is a guy by the name of Montezuma. Montezuma is going to be the Aztec leader. He is a high priest. He is a god king. He is worshipped as a god by his people. Montezuma is the leader of the Aztecs. And so Montezuma comes into contact with Cortez, and they are going to, unfortunately, not have the best of meetings, to say the least. Montezuma is actually going to be taken captive. He is basically tied up. He's held by the Spanish in his own castle, and he's held there. And Cortez wheels out Montezuma every so often to say, hey everybody, everything's fine. These men are fantastic. They're great. I love them. Awesome. And then they take him back inside and tie him back up, and they go, oh, there you go. Sorry, Montezuma, you're in the corner. You're out of luck. Eventually, Montezuma's subjects, the Aztecs, are going to get suspicious of this. They're going to say, wait a second, why are we only seeing Montezuma every so often? Why is he not out and about and doing things? Plus, I don't know if these men are really messengers of Quetzalcoatl. I think something's up. So, your assignment today is a two-part assignment. One is, question, what happens? What do you think happens to Montezuma? There's no wrong answer. What do you think is going to happen to him? And this can be a short part. This can literally be 3 to 5 sentences for what happens to Montezuma. Just a brief, guess at what happens. The second part of this assignment is going to be a timeline. Now, how does a timeline work in Mr. Finn's class? Well, I'm glad that you asked. A timeline is going to be a line like this. On this line, we are dealing with, we'll put our year 0 at this side because we're going this direction. Now, on this timeline, I want you to find dates. So let's take a date, for example, 1517. This is around when Cortez came to America and met the Aztecs. On this line, let's have it be to, I'll give you this date. We'll say 1600. We are in the year 2000. This means this was 400 years ago. Is going to be the end of your timeline. So we're looking for dates between the year 0 and 1600. So let's say, for example, 1517. That's going to be right around here. And I want you to find something that happened. So you're going to do some research on the computer. You're going to look for dates having to do with the Aztecs and Montezuma and Cortez. And you have the notes, so you can look up these names. And you are going to tell me what happened in certain times. So in 1517, let's just say, you're going to put the date 1517. You are then going to tell me what happened. Let's just say 1517, Cortez comes to America. And you write down what happened on that date. Now here's the last part. To each date, you also want to do a picture. So he comes to America. He came on boats. So you draw a couple of ships. That is your representation of what happened. And so Cortez comes to America on 1517, that date. And then what is the picture that you wrote? It could be anything. It could be a Spanish conquistador. whatever you want to draw that represents what happened on that date. Now, just because timelines are a first for us right now, let's just give another example. Let's just say something happened on 1500, 17 years before this. You would put the date to the left because it is going to be before 1517, before 1600. So let's say we said 1500, we could say Aztecs in power. The Aztecs are in power. Aztecs have a great civilization. Everything's going good in 1500. It's before Cortez gets there. You could then, I might draw a pyramid with steps. I'm not the greatest artist, but you can see that would be my visual representation of the Aztecs in power. So let's keep this simple since it's the first one, and let's just go with, let's say, 5 dates. I want 5 dates having to do with the Aztecs and Cortez. You could even have Columbus, anything really having to do with Europe coming to America around the time period of 1492 to 1600, in that range. So you're gonna have to do some research online, find some dates, tell me what happened, draw a picture. So together with your short little write-up, what's gonna happen to Montezuma, which we'll discover next class, I want this timeline with 5 dates so we can get going and see how this works. And if I do need to do some further clarification on it, at least this will be the first time, so I'll be able to see. So we'll just do 5 this time, and I look forward to seeing you next class.